Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Living, Overcoming, Becoming. I do understand that the break was a little daunting for some of you because y'all have been chomping at the bit for me to get back on this here platform. So here I am with a treat again. I do not come back from breaks empty handed. I have been sent this man of God's information by none other than my favorite auntie. And when I say she has been having conniptions for us to connect, it has been nothing short of a conniption. I've been getting phone calls daily for the past 4 weeks to make sure that I get this man of God on. But from my understanding and from my conversation with this man, I can see exactly why she wanted me to connect with him so badly. And when I say anything that comes out of this man's mouth will be not only a blessing, but this is a seed planting moment, I have Terry McCollum here. This is, like I said, not only a treat. I have actually been blessed by this man just by talking to him for 45 minutes? We talked for 45 minutes, like an hour or something, off of just a random call, and we literally clicked up real quick. So, Terry, can you please introduce yourself to the people of God?
Hello, everyone. I am Terry McCollum. I am a minister out of South Jersey. I actually currently reside in Burlington County, where I work as a social worker. I'm actually a prevention consultant for an organization here in the state where we go and talk to the youth in the different schools and stuff about prevention stuff like suicide prevention, anti-bullying, drug prevention, all that good stuff. But I'm also a minister of the gospel. I'm an ordained pastor. I do all that I can in the community to help people who are in need. Whatever it is that they need, I just go around helping out where I can. I also work as a behavioral assistant where I mentor several youth in the community. So, I pretty much stay busy. Married 22 years with 4 children and 1 grandchild, which I just welcomed into the world about 3 weeks ago. So we're super excited about that as well.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you
I
very
love
much.
babies. I'm surrounded by
too.
them right now, and I just like
Really?
every time somebody says they have a new baby, I'm like, um.
Yeah.
So y'all basically heard this man is booked and busy, and this episode literally came to me in my revamp. So y'all know I was gone for a couple weeks. I came back with a little mini episode, and then I was gone for 2 weeks again. And here we're back because God does nothing out of order. It's always decent, structured, prophetic. And today we scheduled this episode, what, about 2 weeks ago now?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there were other episodes that were supposed to come. I got distracted, stuff happened, and then this thing falls on today. And the episode title is Steward What You Carry. And like I said, God does nothing out of order. It's always decent and in order.
Yeah, in order.
And so
Absolutely.
Terry, you getting exclusive right now.
Well,
So
I can tell you right now that the title alone, oh man, I can go so many directions with this. Steward What You Carry is when I looked at that title, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so we're living in a time now where, well, I'm not gonna say we're living in a time, but we're just transitioning into a new year. And then transitioning to a new year, that always comes with everyone is doing their New Year's resolutions and they're talking about new year, new me, and I'm trying to do things differently. I'm getting in the gym, I'm eating healthy, I'm praying more, I'm actually gonna go to church instead of sitting on at Bedside Baptist. But anyway, so they're talking about how we're doing different things, right? But sometimes we forget about what God actually placed in us and what we're actually carrying, and how God entrusted us with his gifts. And so many of us, I'm not even going to say so many of us, all of us have a gift, at least one gift. Some of us were blessed with many gifts, but we have gifts that we are not stewarding like we should, because we're allowing our gifts to just either be stagnant or we're using them in the wrong manner, because many people are trying to capitalize off their gifts, depending on what it is, and they're not being good stewards over what they have. There's a scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is required. And a lot of times we think that it's okay to just have something and not pay attention to how we use it, and not only how we use it, but who we use it for, who we're using it unto. you know
You
So
spitting.
yeah, there's just a lot that comes along with that. So when I
Well,
looked at that title, I'm just like, yeah, this is deep.
so like I said, this came in the revamp. This was a completely different direction that I took. I set up the episode because I knew where I wanted to go with you. I knew where I wanted to touch on. And then, like I said, my aunt was trying, no, I can't tell you everything that's happening, but I just need you to understand that everything is happening around this man. And I really just want you to talk. I was like, lady, you're you're distracting my process because I was praying because I was like, God, I know you want me to talk to him because I got that when we had the conversation, but I was like, I really want this to be something that is
Yeah,
at the right time.
absolutely.
And like I said, I had the idea, but then the title came after. And when you said that this is a million different ways you could go with this title, because when we talk about steward what we carry, are we talking about our gifts? Are we talking about our calling? Are we talking about our assignments? Are we talking about us? We're the vessel that carries.
So what if I were to tell you that our callings and our assignments are also gifts?
This thing is layered deep.
Yeah, because a lot of times we don't look at it like that. But what we have to understand is that um, it's kind of like when you need some work done, right? And you bid it out. You go out and you find out who's capable of doing this work. I need to see results. I need to see what you've done in the past, and I need to know if I can trust you with what I need done because I'm going to go off of what you've done in the past and the type of person you are, what kind of integrity you have, and then that's going to allow me to determine if I allow you to do the work that I need done for me. So the way that God does, I believe that when God looks at us, He says, "Okay, well, I'm going to gift this person with this assignment."
Mm-hmm.
Because I need this done and I need to know that the person that I'm giving this assignment to has it in them, has my best interest at heart, and they're about building my kingdom, and they're going to be able to go and carry out this assignment without allowing themselves to get into the way. So even our assignments are gifts from God because God says, I'm actually giving this to you. I could give it to anybody else, but I'm
But
giving it to
you.
you. I'm giving this appointment, this assignment, this divine opportunity to you. That is the gift. So there's some people out there that may say, well, I don't have the gift of prophecy, or I don't have the gift of playing an organ or singing, or, they look at gifts in the physical realm of that, but they don't look at gifts in the spiritual realm of God just assigning you to something. And it's not just Him assigning you when it comes to a ministry, like going to a church, but even to an individual. There could be somebody at your job that you don't like that God actually assigned you to.
Is placed in the place where you are at that appointed time to just
Hmm.
make some kind of connection. And
Absolutely.
I like so
So it's
like
about
Peter,
trust. Yeah,
this
He's
is
entrusting us. Yeah.
this thing that we call life. I had talked about this in a previous episode, but it was all mapped out. Everything was accounted for. Every thought you think, every decision you make, every slip you take, everything was already accounted for. God already accounted for it. But then when I started writing my devotional, I went into the point of everything that was instilled in you from creation was on purpose. Like your purpose was built in your DNA, which means your gifts are in your DNA, which means your assignment was placed. And then even going into those aspects and realms, it was like everything that you do is on purpose. Like everybody kind of thinks that the way that the gifts are, how they come about, no, they was in there. They just needed to be activated. No, you just needed to go through this to get the other piece for that thing to actually stir up. And I think once we started like talking about that in my church, it made it seem a little bit more tangible because people think that these things are so far gone. It's like, nah, that thing in there, you just need to be under the right pressure, circumstance, activation, around the right leadership, around the people that you're actually assigned to for those things to come about. So it's funny that you mentioned how what you just said
Well, it's
because
from experience. So
yeah.
yeah.
And let me tell you something about an exclusive man of God. So you're the first person to know. Now everybody gonna know once the episode dropped. But I was actually designated a minister today.
What? Congratulations.
So when I say this episode fell when it was
Buckle up.
the first the first thing I said when my bishop said that to me was, "Are you?" Because we hear my episodes. We hear everything that I'm journeying through, everything I'm going through, the things I'm still battling with, the things I'm still trying to give up. I'm like, you want to make me a minister right now in these times? But I don't question God no more. I'm just like, you know what, bro? If that's what you want from me, okay.
Yeah.
But you gonna get me how you get it. But now, stewarding what I carry that already. But now this is the appointed time for me to. Now there might have been some wrestling, but now that I did that work before getting to this point, I was telling everybody today, they was like, Erica, you don't seem like you're scared. And I was like, well, God already knew how to handle me. I have been walking in the appointment of a minister for almost 2 years now. I've been doing all of the things, the assignments. I've been evangelizing. I've been ministering. I've been, starting platforms. I've been elevating people. I've been encouraged. I've been doing that. So now when I get the title, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that's because it's like there's like a structure of calling,
Mhm.
character, and then responsibility. So you already had the calling before you were born. You were ordained to do this,
Yeah.
when you were in your mother's womb. But the character, the building of the character that goes along with the calling had to take place in your daily life cycle, like everything that you've gone through, all the obstacles that you had to overcome, all the issues you've had to endure, the people you've had to meet, the people you've had to let out of your life. That
Mhm.
built the character that would be able to house the ministry that is in you. And so now God gave you the responsibility. Okay, so you've gone through all of the motions that you needed to go through, and there's gonna be more because while you have the responsibility, there's gonna be even more things that are gonna find their way to you. I like to call it pressing through the crowd. I was on a prayer call yesterday morning. I was talking about the importance of pressing through the crowd when we look at the scripture with the woman with the issue of blood and how she
I knew
pressed
you
through the
was about to
crowd.
bring up my favorite story in the Bible.
So
I
So
knew
listen, when it comes to, we always talk about how her faith made her whole, but sometimes we overlook the pressing that took place for her to
the
get to
fight
Jesus,
to
right?
get
All the
to
people in the crowd that might have been yelling at her saying, don't, you shouldn't even be here. You're unclean. You're this, you're that, probably trying to push her out the way. And she had to press through the crowd. And I like to use the analogy that that crowd and everybody in it that she had to go around and under and over and to get through represents all of the struggles that we go through day to day in our lives. The crowd can be evil coworkers. It could be, people that just get on your nerves. It could be life circumstances like finances and sickness and different things like that. We go through the crowd every single day. But in pressing through the crowd, the woman with the issue of blood never took her eyes off Jesus. And the same thing applies to us. When you get this call, you got the calling, you got the character, and now you have the responsibility. You can't take your eyes off of him. It's just a matter of pressing through the crowd daily. And I'm telling you, the stewardship that comes along with this is so, like, carrying it is tough, because imagine pressing through the crowd while you're also carrying weights. So because people are constantly trying to pull you down,
and
people
God be
want you to
careful. You
carry
starting to
them.
preach. You starting to
There's a
preach
lot
right
that
now.
comes with it. Yeah.
Be careful.
There's a lot that comes with it. And like you said, the experiences that you went through that brought you to where you are, I'm not going to go into detail. I went through something recently, just recently in July. I was in the fight of my life. I'm still going through it. My mental health, I've struggled with my emotional state for most of my life because of things that took place when I was a kid. And I still suffer with PTSD and anxiety and depression. I have these depressing moments from time to time because of the issues I deal with. And it basically, I just turned 45 3 days ago. And these issues, thank you, these issues that I've gone through throughout most of my life have put me in a place where I'm starting to realize what my true identity in God is, and what my true purpose in Him is. Because now I'm leaning towards doing things in the community that help other men who struggle, in the battle of the mind and with their emotions, being especially as a black man, being the father, being the husband that you're expected to be, and trying to perform and produce and to stay on top of things day to day, while you feel like society and life is just tearing you down. Like I said, I've been married for 22 years. My oldest son is 21. We got kids from 21 down to twin 17-year olds.
Mm.
And you can just imagine the struggles that must have taken place during that, we've been together for about 25 years. So during that 25 years of us being together, there we go through ups and downs. And sometimes it gets to the point where you feel like, you know what, I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Yeah.
Even though you know you are because God ordained it. But
Mm-hmm.
your mind has a way of trying to play tricks on you. And so again, when it comes to that stewardship and being a steward, a good steward over what you're carrying, we have to allow that to take precedent over all the situations, all the crowds that, the situational crowds that we're trying to fight through every day. We have to let it take precedent and remember that God created us for a purpose. And honestly, that's the one thing that a lot of us suffer, is identity crisis. Many of us haven't found who we are in God. We don't know who we are in God. And because of that, we're just kind of going with the flow, like dust in the wind, and we don't
Right.
know what we're doing. So,
And like that identity crisis, that identity, that false identity, the thing that you take on, like I kid you not, I feel like he really just God dope for real.
he is. Yep,
I think,
absolutely.
because I was just talking to my brother in the car, I was like, I had been holding on to publishing my devotional because in my head I was like, "No, am I really qualified? I know I got this from you, but should I push it out?" I really don't think I think I was just talking for myself. I don't know if it's going, but when I say for the past month, even down to this very second, what just came out of your mouth was more confirmation like, "No, put it out. Get it out." Like, because I've been second guessing myself because just that. Like, I had a specific day where it was dying to the false identities that were either instilled in you, that you picked up, that you witnessed, that you were grown in, taking on the identities of people around you that raised you that isn't even yours. Because what happens is the one story that I clung to was the story in the garden with the serpent. And it was just like the way that he talked, it was like that instant moment of Imma neglect everything I know because this sounds good. So I'm picking this up and then it's causing consequence. So when the creator comes to me, he's like, "Where you at? Like, where are you? What is happening?" And then you completely lost your identity in that split second because it was given to you in a way that was convincing. But now I'm gonna run with it and I'm gonna go against what was really instilled in me to do. So it's just like it doesn't have to come from a slick tongue. It can come from a familiar tongue. It can
Hmm.
be told to you at a very young age to where you start believing that. But I had to start realizing the more warfare, the more things I was going through, dealing with the same thing: depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts, drug abuse, like being in bad relationships because I think that's all that I'm worth. I was like, this was all trained in me from before. So I'm not only carrying generational things, I'm carrying things that I seen that I thought was okay because now it's a distraction from my actual personality, my actual identity to get me off course. So now that I'm coming into that who I was built to be kind of attitude, and I'm pressing through that crowd. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
tired of doing this. This isn't even sustaining me. I done seen this generation do it, down to this generation, down to the generation that raised me. It's not working for them. I want it different. I had to get to
yeah,
that point. But
yeah,
it's like now when I'm getting that reintroduction to who I really was built to be, it's like I believed the lie for so long that I thought it was mine. But now that I'm meeting
yeah,
the real me, not only did I go through that disassociation and that feeling like I was living in somebody else's body, it was because I was being reintroduced to the person I was built to be. And it
right.
was a stranger. Like, who is
Hmm.
this? So
Yeah,
now that I've been reacquainted and I've been working with God, like, all right, this girl is supposed to be doing this, this, and this. Now it's like, all right, bet. But I had to get to that. But the way I had to press and go through the same feelings that made me not even want to be here, I had to move through that to get to the real thing. So the work it has to be done. But when we talk about steward what we carry, I like stewardship to me is taken care of.
hmm,
It is the same way that we treat things of value. We put it up. We only wear it for certain,
hmm.
events. We clean it every day. It's
Yeah,
up
we
on a
guard
mantle
it.
somewhere. We
Yep.
admire it. Like we
Hmm.
take care of something, and that's stewardship in my head.
Yeah.
I think about exactly what you said, like my gifts and everything, and my assignment and my calling. But when I really got down to it, another one of my days and the becoming part of my devotional was steward the vessel, and that's you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take care of the main investment God makes, which is you, everything else falters.
That's right.
Everything else collapses because you are the vessel. You are
Mm-hmm.
the thing that carries everything. So if
Right.
I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not caring for myself, if I'm not fortifying my mind, staying in my word, keeping that relationship with him, like God, this all seems crazy. I'm going through this, and this. If this fails, the whole assignment fails.
Yeah.
So that stewardship, it's like it goes so far
It
behind.
does.
Like it's not just what you're given, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you
Yes.
think, it's what you
Yep.
say, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's how you act. Like it's so much. That's why I was like, oh, God really be putting the right
Yeah.
people in
Yeah.
it. Did
Because
you?
all those things come together and
Mhm.
they make up how you carry the gifts.
Yes.
Okay, how you steward over them. And it's funny because like the gifts that we have will open up many doors, but there's one thing that can shut those doors if you lack it, and that's accountability. And that's the problem, is that a lot of us have gifts, but we don't have the accountability that we should have to properly steward those gifts. And when we don't have that accountability, it's just like it washes out anything that we're able to do through the gifts. You know, you can be as a musician, you know, I've played organ since I was about 12, 13 years old, in church, and I've come across musicians that are so gifted. I'm talking they could run circles around me on the organ, but they were never accountable, and people didn't want to work with them. You know, they made it all about money. You know, if the money is, if there's not a certain amount, then I'm not playing for your church. They don't have church homes. I know a lot of musicians will probably get mad at me saying that, but it's the truth. A lot of musicians aren't even, I remember going to churches where the musicians would get up and walk out when it's time for the preacher to get up and preach, you know, because they're just there for a paycheck. And again, that's what it looks like when someone is not properly stewarding their gifts. You
Mhm.
know, because if you were, when you have certain gifts, you will realize that you're not here just because of your gifts, because you also have a soul and you're supposed to be a part of what's taking place as well, not just for performance purposes. Just saying. Yeah. And so you were to make a point on what you were saying earlier about being taught, you know, your identity, or being fed your identity. Um, People might get upset about this, but I know for a fact that a lot of us are only we only know the Lord through the ones
So
who introduced us to the Lord. And for many of us, it's parents and grandparents, right? And so a lot of us haven't gotten to a point where we actually have a relationship with Yeshua because of the fact that we were introduced at a young age by somebody else. And we only held on because they told us this is what you're supposed to do. And, you know, you get to a point where you're like, wait a minute, am I actually in this for someone else or for myself?
they ain't gonna
And
get mad. They've
unfortunately,
been
not
hearing this in season 1, episode 1.
they just don't want to hear it, right? A lot of people just don't like hearing it because it's the truth. You know, so we have to come to that understanding and get to the point where we say, you know what, I want a relationship with the Messiah, and I want a relationship with the Creator, based on who I am and who I was created to be, not based on how I was taught when I was growing up.
Well, that's the key. That's where it all starts. And I feel like the crazy thing is my bishop says something very similar to what you were saying about like with the musicians, like not them specifically, but he was like when you're not under the right leadership, when you don't know what's right from wrong, when you kind of just doing your gifts get prostituted.
Yeah,
And then you
absolutely.
start to prostitute your own gifts because at that
Mm-hmm.
point there's no connection. So it's
Yeah,
like, where does the accountability come in? Where does the connection come in? Why are you doing this in the first place? And it's like, gifts come regardless. Like I
mm-hmm.
said, you're born with them. So it's like people don't even realize that they operate in a lot of the things that they're doing because most fortune tellers are seers.
Yeah, basically,
Most witches is,
it's
is
true.
healers.
Yeah,
A lot of prophets. be prophesying, but they doing it for cash, they doing it for Instagram likes, and they doing it for attention.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
just like some of these things you can't look at them like a lot of times I definitely tap into my discernment more than ever now.
Right.
And I have always fashioned myself a cautious, paranoid, everything. So I question everything, not knowing that that's discernment. That's a gifting of discernment. That joint's always high on my gift test every time I take it every
Right.
season. And it's
But
like
in the
something
wrong
else.
hands, it would be called disobedience. So yeah,
In the
I don't
wrong
want to
hands,
get into that tonight, but
I need medication. Like, you know what I mean? In the wrong hands is she crazy. It's like,
yeah,
don't put her on
basically.
it.
Because a
So
lot of the seasoned saints, they don't like being questioned. They don't like when somebody comes along and says, "Wait a minute, but why are we doing this way?" And they will be quick to say that's disobedience, and you're like, no, this is discernment. Like you were doing something a certain way for a certain amount of decades because that's what you were taught. But did you ever question it? Are we supposed to be doing it this way? Are we supposed to be carrying out services this way? Are we supposed to be praying this way? And nobody ever questions anything. And that's the difference between a lot of the older ones and the current generations, because now the current generation is like, wait a minute, something
that
isn't
don't
right.
sound right.
Yeah, that don't sound right. Right. Yeah.
And the crazy
Hmm.
thing is, half of the people that were raised that way or came up in the church that way, most of them never really read the Bible for real. They
Thank
was
you.
just going to church, sitting in the pew, go on,
Hmm.
pastor. But
And they
then,
know all the familiar scriptures, but they never really dug in.
and my thing is, it'd be like two sentences in a whole chapter that's being taken out of context. How do we know?
Absolutely.
Like, how
Or
do you know that's
specific
good?
scriptures that were spoken to a specific people for a specific time, and we think it applies to us now. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah.
So I'm just like, when I say I had to come to this thing for myself, it
Hmm.
got to the point where I was like, let me just read this thing and see. Now, it took me about a week to read at least 3 verses because I was going
Hmm.
back and forth between this translation and that translation,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah,
figure it
that's
out.
another
But
thing.
it was
Yeah.
really like, all right, Imma listen to this, Imma see what he say, and then it's like something in the back of my head is like, "Oh, I like what he said, let me go read it," and then I read it, and I'm like, "That don't add up." Like, what I just read ain't what you just said, but it sounded good, and I was this close to following that man, and I was like, "Well, let me watch something else and see what he says," and constantly I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, "Well,
Hmm.
that's not the church for me," so but I had to take that questioning because 'cause I'm like, "Ooh, that sound good," but sometimes it sound too good,
Yeah,
and then
and
I
sometimes
decided.
it's. Mhm.
Go ahead.
It's all about context. So you can take one scripture and come up with a million messages just by changing the context. So it makes you wonder, wait a minute, but what was the actual context that the scripture was originally written in, and
Mhm.
who does it apply to? And so that's the reason why so many things are not translated well when it comes to the Word of God, when it comes to the Bible, because of how it was put together. And I don't want anybody to think I'm refuting the Word of God and that I'm kind of trying to stand against the Word of God. I stand on the Word of God. But there are a lot of things that we take out of context, especially when people are preaching the Word. They'll use scriptures in the context that fits their message. And so we have to question, like, is that something that we're even supposed to be doing? You know?
Right. N So that's why I say this is a like I say I was questioning God, like, "Why are you doing this right now? You giving"
Hmm.
and I kind of have been feeling that. Like, I have been feeling a shift. Even just, like, looking on social media and the things that's going on, it's like, it's very much you see one side or you see the other side. But it's like the people that are being called up in this moment, they raw, like, they been through some stuff. They being honest, they're being transparent, and now you're starting to see the clash between, like, the old and the new generation. Because even right now, I get questioned by my grandparents
Yeah.
every day. Like, I'm tatted, I still be dropping a curse word here or there, but I'm like, "No, I love the
Hmm.
Lord, though." Like, I'm trying, like, this is not like
Right.
a but I don't look like what they're used to the certain saints to look like, and I'm like, "But he called me now, so obviously something that I'm doing is important." And it's very much people need that not just relatability, but they need to see that it's a tangible thing for them too. So they see me stewarding by being open, by being transparent.
Hmm.
Like me being honest is a form of stewardship because I'm like, no, I love God. I'm trying every day, but I am still struggling with this. But if you can see that I can come out of this, that means you can come out of
Yeah.
this. If you
Yeah.
see me fighting and struggling and doing whatever, you can do the same thing because a lot of times they look at titles and they think that it's something that's given to the perfectest of people. Nah, I got this joint.
It's not.
I got this joint thugging. Like I am
Not at all. And so,
like,
and I respect that transparency, and that's a word that let's expound on that a little bit. You were talking about being transparent, right? So a lot of people, when I was growing up, I used to think that a lot of people in the ministry were just perfect.
mm-hmm.
Like they don't do anything they shouldn't do because they're elders and bishops and pastors and stuff. And the thing is that there was a big lack in transparency because they would never discuss what they do on a personal level. It was always, do as I say, not as I do. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to show you the person outside of the cloth, on the other side of the cloth, the person outside of the walls of the church. They're not going to show you that. And nowadays, I feel like a lot of us are becoming more transparent, and I believe that that's what's leading people closer. Having that understanding of, okay, this person is in ministry, but they go through stuff just like I go through. They get into arguments from time to time. Like you said, we might slip a curse word from time to time. They really are down to earth, the human beings. Yeah, because I'm a man of God, but just as it says, man of God, I'm still a man,
Yeah.
right? We're still human beings. We're still individuals who hurt. If you cut me, I'm gonna bleed. Like we go through things like everybody else. But there was a time when the older saints would never let you know that they went through anything unless it was in the form of a testimony where they tell you what they had been through. But
Yeah.
even then, they would only go so far because they wouldn't let that transparency.
That's what causes the run effect.
Yeah,
I cannot be what these people say I need to be, so why would I try? I
right,
have to be
right.
perfect every day, so why would I go and set myself up for failure?
Hmm.
I Terry, I appreciate you so much. Um, it's it's important, and transparency does not mean that I am affirming you to do everything that you're doing that you're not supposed to be doing and you're
Not
supposed to
at
do
all.
it. This is not a blanket statement. So, oh,
Right,
it's okay, I can do that as long as I look.
right.
Nah,
Absolutely
we
not.
still need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
continue to strive for change. We strive
yeah.
for holiness, people. Like that's the
Hmm.
goal. It's
That is
just
the goal.
we fall short of the glory of God every day, and we need to repent and we
Right,
need to keep trying until we get it.
right.
And a
It's just
big
letting you know that you're not alone in that struggle.
and he
Yeah,
understands you are human. He knows that these
right.
things are going to come, but it is not a crutch. It is not a
Hmm.
fallback thing. Like you can't just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I'm a human, so I'm a mess." Nah, you still got to be intentional. That's a
Yep.
big word for
And be
me.
accountable. Be intentional and be accountable. Yes.
And you gotta stay on trend. Like
Hmm.
there are things that the Ten Commandments is a thing. That is literally the blueprint. That's literally
Yes.
all you have to abide by. Now, if you slip
Yep.
up, that's the repentance, and you keep trying until you get it. But
Hmm.
another big thing that I have been telling people is I cannot judge my journey based on nobody else. The people that are connected to me are there for support. They're there for prayer. I got into the realm very early on because, like you said, having those transparent leaders in the ministry that I am in, them people that been through it, still going through it, are honest about it, but they are still bishop and overseer, was like
Hmm.
they people just like me.
Yep.
Like I heard one of them go off in a meeting. They were like, "I apologize. It just riled up, but I just want to let y'all know we apologize for how that." And I'm like, "Oh, they be snapping just like me, but they bought it back and they asked for forgiveness." So it was just like having those tangible objects that are like, it's not impossible. That's what
Right.
started to bring me back. But what I started getting into was when I started coming back and I started seeing people that started out like me, some of them dropped stuff overnight. Like they just woke up a different
Hmm.
person. And I'm like,
Mm.
am I doing something wrong? Like, is it me? Like, am I not praying enough? Am I not fasting
Hmm.
enough? Like, what am I doing? But I didn't realize that the way that he takes you through it is for a reason. And
Hmm.
then I started getting certain assignments, and then I started getting certain duties, and I'm seeing how it's fallen where I'm at right now, and I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it's this I am where I'm supposed to be at that moment. And
Hmm.
then my stewardship changed because now I have to pray different. Now I have to surround myself with different. Now I have to take care of the space that I'm in, and I have to realize my space might not be conducive to my growth right now. So when we get into accountability, when we get into connection, when we get into how things change, that also means that you have to prepare and you have to reanalyze where you are, because stewardship also means that you might need to make changes. And the
Right.
crazy thing is, again, this fell very in the perfect time, because in our Sabbath school today, we talked about how when an elevation is in place, when a change, because our ministry just went through a new season change.
Mm-hmm.
We had a very powerful service for youth weekend last weekend,
Right.
and it was
Right.
very much don't go back into the old. We moving forward, and we started talking about the story of Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
When you gotta go, you pick up what you can. You can't take everything with you into the promised land. When
Mm-hmm.
you get a new assignment, you gotta move, you gotta get the direction, you gotta be on your feet. And when I say now, the stewardship is different because I might not be able to take everybody with me, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I might not be able to do the same things. I might not be able to live in the same place. I might only be able to take my baby and go, because now the requirement has changed. How am I preparing? And that was another main thing. My brother was the teacher today, and he was using the analogy of how do you prepare for a vacation, but like a substantial vacation? What do? You do
Right.
an emergency plan, you do a backup plan, you pack,
Mm-hmm.
you research the weather, you know
Yep.
what you pack, what you take.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing. That's all stewardship.
Yeah, it
Knowing
is.
where
It
you're
is.
at, the season you're in, where you're going, what the plan is, what am I planning for, so
Yeah.
I can move forward when it's presented to me.
Yeah. And even looking at the preparation, when you were talking about preparation, looking at the seasons that come along with preparation, sometimes we look at certain situations. Like I said, I recently went through some things and I had to ground myself for
Mhm.
literally a few weeks, shut everything down. Initially, I thought I looked at it as a delay. But as I went through that situation, I realized this wasn't a delay, this was a development. And that's the difference, is that sometimes in our seasons, when we get attacked, we look at it as an attack. Oh, the devil is trying to, stop what I'm trying to do. The devil wants to kill me. The devil wants this. The devil wants that. And like, yeah, the devil is attacking you, but we have to go back to Job and remember how the devil had to get permission from God in order to attack Job, which means that even in that, when God basically told Satan that it was okay for him to attack Job, basically Job was still a steward over what he carried because he never gave up in the midst of what he was going through. And so it may have looked like a delay, but in actuality, it was a development because it helped Job to develop into an even better person. He got double for his trouble. So the things that we go through when we experience certain attacks and when we experience certain setbacks. I've heard some preachers use the cliche that, the setback was a setup, and that's exactly what it is like these setbacks and these different issues that we face from time to time that we may look at as a delay in our development is actually not a delay. That is the development. God is
Preparation is
using that
optional.
situation to prepare you. Yes,
Preparation is optional.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes! What
Glory to God.
my best friend has her podcast. Her and
Hmm.
her father did an episode called Held in the Hallway. And it was
Mm.
very much the delay is a setup. That where you think it's not happening, that
Hmm.
you being in this hallway with all these closed doors and you think that you did something, are you using this as a prepared moment, like a preparedness moment? What are you doing in this hallway while you're
Yeah.
waiting for the door to open? Are you looking at everything that you're going through in this situation? How are you going to use it for your good? What did you learn in this season? What is he trying to show you? Like being in that, it's almost like it could feel like the wilderness most of the time,
Yeah.
because you can't hear, you can't see, you don't see what's good. But while I'm
Hmm.
sitting here, what am I doing? Am I waiting?
Yes.
What am I
So
doing?
that, believe it or not, that is the wilderness sometimes in the hallway. That is the test. That is the test. I never forget, I want to say 2011, 2012, something like that. I was working as a security officer, and I remember going out for this promotion to work at a pharmaceutical company. They had an opening for a chief of security. It was the head security person for their company. And so I was told that I shouldn't apply because I had only been doing security for about a year at that time. I was still kind of green, you know, still new to it and whatnot. For some reason I felt as though, yeah, but you know, it'd be good to have some extra money. This place is closer to home. I'm gonna apply anyway, just to do it. I felt led to apply for it. So I applied, and on the day I went in for the interview, there were these other guys who went into interviews before me. I was the last one. These gentlemen have been doing security for years. They had master's degrees in criminal justice, which is like a plus when you're doing security. They had the experience and they had the credentials. And here it goes. Here it goes past the T, come walking up in there like, I'm gonna try to get this job. And so I'm standing in the lobby, and while I'm waiting for my turn to be interviewed, it's taking some time. But I can't be still. I'm standing there looking around at the different pictures they have on a wall and different sculptures and stuff. There were different people that were kind of coming through the lobby, and I'm making conversation with people, laughing and stuff. The receptionist, I'm making conversation with the receptionist, and it turned out people were giving me their card. Like, who are you? They're giving me their card. I'm like, man, we gotta connect. We gotta connect. And so, lo and behold, I go into the interview. They asked me all these questions that made me so uncomfortable because I started to realize more and more I am not qualified
This job.
for this position. So I got a little, you know, a little anxious. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get a call back. But I still represented myself as you know, the best way I could. So I left. And before I could even get home, I got a phone call from the supervisor saying that I don't know what happened, but you got the job. And
Was
she's like,
meant
they
for
want you
you
to
to make
come.
you
Can you
start.
turn around? And she's like, can you turn around and go back? They want to talk to you again. I turned around, went back. They got me set up. I worked there for a decent amount of time, and I loved it. They loved me. As the chief of security, it wasn't until around the time that I resigned because I was moving on to bigger, better things. I had a conversation with some of the workers there, and one of them made a comment about how I got hired. And they said, you may not know this, but when you got hired, you were the least qualified. But the way you carried yourself in the waiting area was what told us that you were the right man for the job. And they said that after you left, there were people asking us, who was that? Who was that tall guy? You know, he's amazing. He's this, he's that. And they said that it was the way that you presented yourself in there, not even in the interview room. The way you presented yourself out in the hallway had already trumped whatever happened in the interview room because when the hiring manager came out and asked the receptionist out of all the candidates, she immediately said my name. And so again, the what happens in the hallway, that is the test. What are you doing in your waiting? While you're waiting for the next assignment, while you're waiting for the next move, how are you carrying yourself? How are you stewarding your gift? How are you presenting yourself to the rest of the world? Even in the midst of what I was going through personally when I was in that hallway that day, I still had to not only represent me, but I had to represent my God. And in doing that, they don't even realize that they were never encountering me. They were encountering the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. It was not Pastor T. It was not Terry McCollum. It was all him.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has now confirmed day 24 in my devotional that will be available on all platforms in the next 2-3 weeks. Because it says embracing the waiting season,
Yes. Yes.
understanding
And
how
it's,
to
that
step
waiting
into
season is
into
not a
the
delay, it
time.
is a development.
The
We
crazy
have
thing
to have
is,
that perception.
one of my references that I did on this day was, what do you do in the waiting area at a doctor's office?
Mm,
You prepare. You think of all of the possible outcomes. You start to analyze yourself. What could this possibly be about? What have I been doing? How have I been taking care of
that's
myself? Have I been taking
right.
care of myself? Oh my God, my blood pressure
Some
might be.
evaluation.
You start to evaluate, you start to deduce everything down, you start to put all the tools together because you need to be and you need to embrace every possible outcome that could happen. It
Yes.
could go good. It could go
Absolutely.
in between. I could get some
Uh-huh.
critique.
Yeah.
But all of it, I have to take this waiting situation and prepare my heart, my mind, and my spirit
Yep.
for what is about to happen.
Absolutely.
And when I say, listen, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm just go ahead and publish it. I hear you. I got it. I got it.
You gotta
But
go for it.
when I, sir, Bishop, I already know you hearing it. I know he probably running around somewhere while he listening to this in his car, wherever. Just be prepared. Somebody gonna be wanting to call you after this. I can just see it playing out in my head. I already told you that off of our original connection, I was like, man, God, just be ready to hear from me at some point because something's gonna come out of this. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is, but
absolutely.
that's
It
it.
already has, believe it or not. It already
Like,
has.
what
Yeah.
are you doing? This again, the title is Steward What You Carry. This is all stewardship, people. These conversations, these analysis, these ways of thinking, these mindset changes, these understandings, these connections, it's all under stewardship. It's taking care of you. It's taking care of what's inside of you. It's taking care of who's connected to you. Like all of that is connected. And
Yes.
then when we start getting into that, when we talk about stewardship, it creates longevity. If
Yes,
you're
it does.
taking care of everything, it lasts longer.
Mm-hmm.
If you value what you
Absolutely.
have, it lasts longer.
Yeah.
If
And you
we
have to
are
protect that longevity, not just in ministry, but in life in general. Sometimes I remember saying that I hate how a lot of times in ministry, people will die in the pulpit. And why does that happen? Because sometimes we don't realize that in protecting longevity and being good stewards of what God gave us, we have to know even when to rest. Because
mm,
again, even that waiting period, it's not a delay, it's a development. Sometimes we get to the point where we say, well, I can't rest because the people need me. I can't rest because the church got to stay open. I can't
rest
rest
is
because
holy, people.
yes, yes, it sure is. It
Rest
sure
is
is.
holy.
Jesus did it.
Even God
Yes,
rested on the seventh day.
yes, on the seventh day.
That's why the
It is,
Sabbath
is
is
it's
holy.
a part of the process. Rest is a part of the process. That's a development too.
Honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
Yes. Keep
Rest.
it holy.
Holy,
Yes. We have
y'all.
to know when to take it down and keep it down until it's time to bring it back up because sometimes we don't know how to do that. We just go, go, go. And I'm preaching to the choir because that's been my life. Just constantly go, go, go. They're expecting you here, they're expecting you there. You just gotta be there. You gotta show up. And I've just recently learned the importance of taking time. I work 7 days a week, but I took off today. I literally took off today. I woke up this morning and said, I'm not doing anything today.
Because what good are we to run ourselves down in the ground? Because then at that point, like when we talk about value and protecting, that also
Hmm.
does not mean you hide it away because this is dual ownership. You are not the only person in ownership of you and what you
Nope.
carry. It is also God.
Mm-mm.
And what does God like to do? He like to show off what he
Hmm.
you cannot keep them to yourselves, y'all, because
Yeah.
the more you stuff it down, the more you try to stifle it, the more you try
Hmm.
to not activate. Y'all don't want to be yoked up by God Himself.
Yeah.
I'm telling y'all
Yeah.
for myself. Y'all don't
It
want
is
to be
true.
stifling and stuffing and acting like it's not there. Because the way he had to pick me up and shake me, I'm still disoriented for 3 years. My waiting season has been 3 years in the making. I have been
Yeah.
prophesied to 3 years ago about the exact spot I'm in right now.
Mm.
But it took my mindset to change and stop looking at my waiting season as punishment and look at it.
Right.
I learned this in this period. I conquered this. I'm about to finish my master's degree. I'm getting different accolades and I'm just sitting here and I'm really just putting on this whole like, no, girl, you
Yeah.
her for
Yeah.
real.
Hmm.
Like we did this. Stop looking at what didn't happen and look at what did.
Yeah.
Because now
That's
that
right.
the doors are starting to crack and I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm like, oh, you
Hmm.
was preparing me this whole time. I just had to look at it differently because now you trust me with what you're giving me.
Yes.
Because he's
Absolutely.
not going to give me something that I'm not
If you
ready
don't
for, that
trust you.
I'm not
Yeah.
prepared
That's
for.
true.
Because why would he give me a gift that I'm not going to value, that I'm not going to take care of? Now that I
Right.
know the importance, now that I know what the weight that comes with
Hmm.
it, so I know when to rest, so I know when to put things down, so I know how important I am to the kingdom building. Now he's like, all right, I was just waiting on you. Now let's go. Like
Yeah.
all the doors are closed because you was
Yeah.
not looking at it. You was not prepared. You weren't tapping in. And I probably delayed myself at some point because at this
We often
point I
do.
done got so comfortable in that hallway. I know how to operate. Oh, nothing good is going to happen for me. It
Yeah.
turned into a longer period. But
Yeah.
now I'm like,
You mess
oh,
around,
you
stay in
did.
that hallway long enough to become a greeter, and you never go inside. You just out there greeting everybody
I am not
else.
going to be nobody's doorman. I'm trying to
Listen,
go and do it myself.
right?
Sir, something's got to
Yeah.
give. But
Yep.
in that,
Absolutely.
while I was in that waiting season and I'm praying for all of the things that I want to happen, He's gonna give me the desires of my heart as long as it
Yes,
falls within His will.
yes.
But it's
That's
also
the
going to
key.
require elevation. So now
Yeah.
I'm sitting here getting elevated, and I'm like, well, I
Hmm.
was praying for expansion and territories and all of that. I can't be surprised that you're going to ask me for a little bit more in
Right.
order to get it. So now I'm like, now I'm changing again. Now the stewardship's changing. Now the assignments are changing. Now I have to prepare myself because now that I'm going up, I'm about to battle a different boss at the end of level 50.
Yes.
So now,
Absolutely.
now I
It
have to
gets
make.
heavier. It gets heavier and heavier. And then there's this thing called burnout, and I know because I've been through it. I've gone through burnout, and I realized that we're talking about stewarding. Burnout is actually a result of poor stewardship. And I can attest to that. I can be transparent enough to say that I was very poor when it came to stewarding my gifts, when it came to stewarding my time, when it came to, I'm wearing myself thin, spreading myself around, and they say you can't pour from an empty cup. My cup was empty for a long time, but I still managed to continue to pour into everybody that came my way until eventually I burned myself out. And then I tried to say, oh no, the call is just too heavy. I just got God is putting too much on me. Well, He won't put more on you than you can bear. It's not God putting too much on us. We are just poor at stewarding what we have. And when we're poor at stewarding what
You
we
picking
have,
up and putting on your plate that wasn't intended for you to pick up and put on
yes,
your plate in the first place.
yes, yes. We're fixing our own plate. we when we supposed to be waiting until God gives us the serving of whatever it is that we need at the time, but we're too busy taking on all these extra things that
Guys
God
that
didn't
put
say
it
to
in our
take on.
stomach. Oh, I can take on that. Oh, I can handle that.
Hmm.
Oh, I can do this. I can do that. It's just
Yeah.
that wasn't even for you to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
like it's like spiritual gluttony
I-
because we want to do it so bad,
Mm.
and then we're not questioning and saying, God, is it your will? Is it your intent? We're not acknowledging Him in a lot of what we're doing. We're just going out and doing because somebody said, I need help over here, and then this person needs help over here. Well, I got the gifts, I got the abilities, I can go ahead and do this, and when I'm done with that, I can go do. What did God say? Because this could be the season that you're supposed to be resting, but you're too busy trying to find ways to be busy.
When I say in my reintroduction to myself, it was a point from August to October. I did not
Hmm.
recognize who I was, know who I was, what I
Hmm.
was doing. I felt like I was waking up in a different person's body every day. I had to kill my savior complex. I was doing God's
Hmm.
job for a minute. That was another
Yeah.
identity that I took on, and it wasn't even nobody's fault. It just I'm the oldest. Um, I was always the more mature friend. Like I was always the one. I don't know why I feel like I can talk to you and tell you everything and blah blah
Hmm.
blah.
Yep.
Not knowing that what's in me is just
Hmm.
attracting people to be that. So not only did I take on other people's issues, I took on other people's emotions, and then I started trying to save everybody and everything because I was like, oh well, they expect me to do it, so I'm gonna just do it. To the point where my burnout caused collapse,
Yeah.
and my collapse was the darkest hole of depression I had ever been in.
I've been
It
there.
just and
Yeah.
and and it kept happening, and I'm wondering why
Hmm.
I'm like, I thought I just came out of this hole. One of the times I didn't come out of the hole, I almost let it take me out. I almost let it take me out
Mm.
twice, actually.
Right.
But then
Right.
I was like,
Right.
why does this keep happening? And I'm
Hmm.
not realizing the people that I'm attaching myself to wasn't my assignment. I didn't realize I didn't move out of the places that I was supposed to move out of the places fast enough. I
Yeah.
was
And
taking
the
things
timing makes all the
and
difference.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here adding all this stuff to my plate until God broke the plate, broke it. This last bout of depression, I thought was depression was like, nah, I'm wiping the slate clean and we about to start over to who you are supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing. And you don't want God to have to smack that plate out your hand because then you're gonna be
Yeah.
looking like, but he
Mm.
had to because I was being I kept picking stuff. My eyes was bigger than my stomach. I can handle this, I can do this, or I want this, I can operate in this because I know I'm qualified, but that's not my assignment. That's not what I'm
And
supposed to be
that's
doing
so
because now I'm distracting
that's
myself.
yes, and that's what we often do, and I've done that for so many years, distracting myself with everything except for what I'm supposed to be doing. I literally was at breakfast the other morning with my wife, and I was discussing with her how my savior complex, how I believe it got started. Because as a child, I went through so much, and there were times when I wished that somebody was there to save me. And so at some point in my childhood, I made it a point that when I'm an adult, I'm going to make sure that nobody has to go through the things I went through. I'm going to be there for everybody. I'm going to make sure that when they call, I go running. And I just turned 44. And I spent at least 35 of my years running to make sure that everybody was taken care of because of that savior complex. And that's an actual diagnosis, and it's something that we often don't realize it exists. There are people out there who think that they're actual heroes. I look at myself as somebody that's, I get the do 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 whenever the phone rings, it's like, okay, I gotta go. If somebody needs help, I'm going around fixing cars in the cold and changing tires and doing all kinds of stuff because people need this and people need that, and it's like, at what point do you sit back and say, wait a minute, God, what will you have me do? What should I be doing in this season? Should I be seeking you more? Should I be praying? Should I be waiting? What will you have me do? Because we get to the point where being there becomes such a task that is like the back of our hand. It becomes like we make it our identity when it's not intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we make it our identity to the point where we don't even think twice when it comes to someone being in need. We just show up. So now it's just a performance because we're just performing. We feel like this is our job to do. And in actuality, it's not. Because I often tell people, who come to me and say, well, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. I'm like, yes, it will.
It will.
Because God forbid if something happened to you and you weren't here anymore, they just going to find somebody else to do it. That's the reality of it. Somebody's going to take your place. Somebody's going to fill your shoes.
People of God, saying no is also stewardship.
Yes, it is.
Everything is not
Yes, it
meant for
is.
you to do. You are not
No is a
designed
full
to
sentence.
do everything. No is a full sentence. I had to also learn that because I was the person that said yes, 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 yes.
I just learned that like 4 months ago. So
And believe me,
I'm
because
still new to
my
know.
vocabulary, that's all I say now. Like the first thing I say is, God, is it, do you want me to do it? And if I
Right.
don't get it, I'll be like, no, I'm
Yeah.
good. Or if somebody need
It's
me to
funny
do
you said
something,
that. I
I'm
literally was
be
about to
straight
say,
to
nah, I'm
you.
good. That's like my thing now. Nah, I'm good.
Oh,
You
I
think you'll be able
really
to?
do.
Nah, I'm good.
I'm short on the rent. I need this, this, and this. And all I got is exactly what they need for rent. I'll be like, am I supposed to? Because that was another thing. People depended on me financially all the time. And people like depending on me emotionally all the time. To now, it might not be no, but it might be I can pray for you. I can pray that God
Yes.
send exactly the person that you need because I'm not.
Yes.
It might not be
Absolutely.
no. It just might be a nah, not by me, but by him. I'm gonna
Hmm.
pray.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pray, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be here for
Yeah.
support along the way. But
Right.
everything is not meant for us to do because, like
Yeah.
I
Like
said,
respectfully.
sometimes
Respectfully.
to be
What?
honest, sometimes it's not a respectfully because some of these people need
Listen.
support. No, I said what I said because we
No, I'm just saying
gotta,
respectfully. What would you have done if I wasn't here? Okay, do that. Do that.
or call everybody else before me because
Right. Right.
those people might have been designed to help you. Just you
Yeah.
calling me for everything.
And so you just struck a nerve because that's exactly what it is. What we do, and we don't do it intentionally, but we condition people, so we can't even blame them. We
Nope.
condition people to have us be there for them. By constantly being there for them, we become basically a crutch. We become their safety net, and then they can't do anything unless they're relying on us to make it happen. And
Mainly
it's not their fault because we don't know how to say no. And then we get mad at ourselves because now when we do say no, we feel like we're letting people down.
I was feeling so bad. I felt so guilty. I was like, "Oh my god, they're not going to
Yeah.
survive without me." Yes, they are.
Yes, they will. Yep.
Like I said, that no was a full sentence. It just came to me recently, but once I walked in that thing, oh, I'm striding in that thing. I'm like, they'll be all right. I'm gonna make sure of it because I'm gonna pray the house down on their behalf. But I know
Yeah.
it's not gonna come from me because I ain't got it. And even
Yeah,
if I
that's
got it,
one
I
hallway
can't
we
leave
refuse
it
waiting.
here if it's not meant to be there.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not gonna be able to give who and what comes after it that's meant for me the full capacity because I
That's
don't
right.
waste the time, space, breath for something that wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't even supposed to
Hmm.
be there.
Yeah.
But again, God,
And the steward, being a good steward, is also knowing the assignment.
yep.
Knowing the assignment. When you work a job, you're given a job description.
Mm-hmm.
You're told what your role is and the details of that role. So when we know that God has called us, when we know that God has chosen us for assignments and to do specific things, we have to have a great understanding, a full understanding of what that assignment is and what our role is in that assignment. So that way we'll understand who we're assigned to. And if somebody comes along trying to pull from what we have, and we realize that that person isn't part of the assignment, we can redirect them. I can't help you with what you need, but go and talk to your pastor. Go and talk to whoever it is speaking over your life, and who has rule over you, whatever elder has rule over you, because what I have is specifically for who God has it for, and I can't
Mhm.
go that way. We have to know that, because what happens is that we allow everyone to pull on us from every different direction. And then, like you said, people are also dumping on us. People will come and tell us all of their woes and all of their issues. And as empaths, we take it on and we get emotional. We actually we feel the emotions that when they don't have tears to cry anymore, we're crying for them.
For
So we have
that
to.
night and took it home with me and sleeping with it in the
Mm-hmm.
bed.
Yep. Yep.
And and that was another thing. I had to learn how to be a traffic cop because that's what connectedness did to me. I had to connect myself with other people. I had to expand beyond because if I can't do it, I can at least direct you in in the direction of somebody
I
else
know
that.
somebody.
That's why I always said I will always promote. I will always give out information. I will always, deliver somebody else or some other service or some. I am not a gatekeeper.
Right.
I'm a person that loves to network, to connect, to see what people are doing. I always celebrate. I always send out the share. I will do that
Yeah.
because what
Yep.
I can't do, somebody else might be able to do. And that's what
Yes.
I wanted to do with this as well. I understand my podcast might not be for everybody, but if you share it, it'll get to the people that it needs to get to. And the other people that have podcasts, that have platforms, that have, different things that they're doing, I'm going to share that because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we need to get it out. And it's going to hit whoever it needs to hit. It's going to get to whoever needs it. And right now we see in this
Absolutely.
season, whoever it's for, it's going to get to.
We
Just
sure
like
will.
everything that we're doing is all for an appointed time. And I stopped questioning it a long time ago. I'm like,
Hmm.
obviously, the way that you have me going and the way that it's coming is all here at an appointed time and it's supposed to be happening. So,
Amen.
what I'm going to ask from you, Terry, is in our final moment, I need you to encourage the people. So, what would you say to someone who knows they're called
Hmm.
but doesn't know how to steward it yet?
So in stewarding, you have to first humble yourself and ask God, what is my role and what you've called me in? Just because God called you for a specific thing, like being a preacher, being a missionary, being an evangelist, there's still some specifics that have to be understood in the midst of that role. And so once you have an understanding of what it is meant for you to do in your role, that's when you start to get an understanding of what it means to steward that call. And in stewarding that call, is stewarding, don't be afraid of the word. It simply means taking care, curating, taking care of what God has given you, taking care of the gifts that He's placed in you, and making sure that it's not used for the wrong purposes, making sure that it's not used for the wrong people, and making sure that you're not using it, just to build self, but you're using it according to what His kingdom need is. And what's according to what God intends for you to do when it comes to building that kingdom. And when you do that, also make sure that you have the right people speaking over your life. We all need someone who is more knowledgeable, someone who has the wisdom to lead us in the right direction. And don't be afraid to check in with that individual. If you have a pastor, if you have an overseer, don't be afraid to check in and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is where I am. Can you pray with me? Can you lead me in the right direction? So being a good steward means just simply understanding how to operate in the gifts and in the calling that God has placed you in.
Man, y'all, he's not. This ain't the only time y'all gonna hear from him. I promise y'all. I promise y'all that because I'm not even gonna add to that. And in my
Yeah.
final moments, I'm going to say stewardship honors God. If you take care and you value what He gives you, how He created you, what's inside of you, that's honoring. You're giving reverence because that means you trust Him with what you are, with which is inside of you. Your responsibility protects your calling. Being responsible is a part of taking care. and being a steward, because you understand what you need to do. What do you need to do? Ask for wisdom. You already said, if you don't got it, find somebody that do. Connectedness, people. Churches are there to build connection. They're not just there for the message. They're not just there for you to go and say that you went every week. It is to connect you with people who can help you, pray for you. Sometimes that's all the connection is. All my church hoppers, I told y'all, date y'all churches. Every church is not for everybody. Every leader is not for everybody. And even if you were in a certain ministry right now, if you know that your gift is not being stewarded properly, or if you have gotten to a point where you think that they have done all they can do, it is okay to understand that and seek where the next assignment or where the next elevation is, because sometimes we're sitting in churches that have taken us as far as they can go. And now it's time to redirect, because maybe this is the point. You're praying. This is why relationship with God is so important. You need to know what you need to do next. You need to know when to wait. You need to know when to move. You need to get into the understanding his voice means when he gives you an instruction, you know it's him and it's not you. How do you do that? By talking to him, by staying in communication. Because now you have to understand that what you carry deserves care. You need to understand that he did not make a mistake. You might think it, but there's no mistakes in his book. You are called. You carry what you carry. And if you feel that tug, lean in, because like I said, you do not want to be picked up and shaked by the man. You just don't. Because then it just lean in, start to talk, start to ask questions, because now we're getting into that time where we see everything happening. We can feel it. It don't matter if you're spiritual or not. You see the changes. You see the way that the world looks. You see the news. You see how is the kids getting wickeder and wiser. There's things that we all see it. You don't need to read the Bible to see that it's getting crazy out here. So what is he doing? He's calling on the troops. He's pulling the people you don't expect. I actually said this. I was talking amongst the other two ladies that got elevated today. I was like, you must know that the trials and the tribulations is about the trial and tribulate. If he calling the gangsters into the pulpit, because we see it, we feel it. So what are we saying? Lean in. And when you lean in, take care of it.
That's right.
I want to thank you, Terry. You don't know how much it blessed me. You don't know how much I look forward to working with you in the future. You do not know how excited I am to finally call Ayanda and be like, I did it, woman. It's going to come tomorrow. Be on that YouTube, because I feel like this will be the first episode she actually listened to. But I again, thank you for being open-minded, for being open, for being transparent. People of God, the website is up, thelobpodcast.com. The stoop is open. This is where we build the community. This is where you get your connectedness. This is where you will start to find the certain projects and things that Terry is working on. This is where I will be promoting different ministries, different people, leadership that are doing different things to help you. Because like I said, if I don't got it, I'm going to direct you to who can. And where do you get that from? You get it from the stoop. The Lob Podcast. Contact me on livingovercomingbecoming@gmail.com. You already know the phone number, 610-241-5366. Hit me on my line. I will get you what you need, because right now we can't be playing. We're all being called to activate. We all feel the stirring. We all feel the pull. Lean in, because now y'all have the resources. And like I said, if you see me thugging this thing out every day, y'all have no excuse anymore, because I am just like y'all. And y'all hear it every single week. Y'all have season 1, y'all have season 2. I'm all the way up to season 5 planning. Y'all will be able to walk this thing out with me. And I'm going to be here along the way and get y'all the people that y'all need to hear, to give you the encouragement and to fortify the fact that y'all are called too, just like we are. I love you guys. I will be talking to you again next week. And as always, this is the podcast where we're healing out loud on purpose. I will see you guys again next week. Bye.
Bye. Take care. That was so awesome. I really appreciate you.